Good morning, afternoon, or night, my beautiful viewers. Welcome to my movie room and welcome to episode 1 of my new series, Scooby-Doo, When Are You? A series where I take my own personal swing at the Scooby-Doo timeline, one movie at a time. In this series, I'll be working my way through each Scooby-Doo movie in release order and placing them in what I believe to be chronological order. So, of course, in episode 1, we'll be watching the first Scooby-Doo movie, Scooby Goes Hollywood. Released in 1979, this animated TV movie was made to commemorate Scooby-Doo's 10th anniversary. In this film, Shaggy and Scooby attempt to break into the big time by leaving the Scooby-Doo show and filming a series of independent short films in an attempt to persuade the TV president to help launch Scooby's movie career. I remember not liking this movie as a child. My dad grew up in the late 70s and into the 80s, and he was a big Scooby-Doo fan. So my grandma had this movie and the next few early Scooby-Doo films on VHS, so I would watch them now and then when I was staying over. But I don't recall ever asking specifically to watch this film. But despite how I think I felt about it, and coming up on 2 decades since I would have last seen it, I remembered every scene in this movie after watching it again. I really like how Scooby acted in this film. I think it was very dog-like. Shaggy is the one who initiates the idea that Scooby-Doo deserves bigger and better, and Scooby-Doo just happily goes along for the ride. I think most segments had at least one joke I laughed at.
So, you're not afraid of me, eh, Sheriff Scooby?
I don't think that was exactly what he said, Mr. Rotten. It was more like, I'm rotten Raider him.
Hey. Yeah, you. You look like an okay dude.
And I think, at least at first, the gimmick of having Scooby-Doo in a bunch of parodies is fun and keeps it fresh, even if the novelty gets old pretty quick. But at a brisk 45 minutes, by the time you're over the premise, it's just about wrapping up anyway. So all in all, I'd rate this film 3.5 out of 5 Scooby snacks. It seems almost modern the way they're meta about the fact that even in the Scooby-Doo universe, What's New Scooby-Doo is a TV show and everyone is just acting. And like I said, it has some good gags, but most importantly, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It comes, it does what it sets out to do, and it rides off into the sunset. So the moment of truth, where do I think this goes in my Scooby-Doo timeline? Before I get into that, let me show you how I'm thinking of making this timeline. First, there will be splits and there will be multiple timelines. For example, in this movie, they show that the gang bought Scooby-Doo as a puppy from a pet shop when they were already teenagers. This goes against the entirety of Pup Named Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins, and Scoop. Number 2, the format doesn't matter, only the context, be it animation, live action, Lego, or puppet. For example, just because The Mystery Begins is live action doesn't mean it is in the same timeline as the other live action movies. We have to let context and content decide if it is. Number 3, I'm not going to rewatch every show and place them in this timeline, but I will use my knowledge of each show and take that into consideration while placing the movies. Number 4, things can and they will change and move. Since I'm doing this one movie at a time, I encourage you to call out any mistakes I make in the comments and share your ideas of which movie should go where. If you make a compelling enough argument, I will amend my previous decision and move stuff around. And finally, have fun. I love Scooby-Doo, and I do have a good amount of canon lore in my head, but I'm not going to be doing hours of research for each movie I watch. I won't get caught up on specifics like, in this movie, Daphne says she has an uncle in Arizona, But in this movie, she says she has no extended family, so it must be another timeline. If I catch on to things like that in my watch through, I'll bring them up and consider them. But I'm not going into each of these movies with a pen and a clipboard and writing everything down. Now, without further ado, where does Scooby Goes Hollywood land in my timeline? Well, that was anticlimactic. Being the first movie I watched, obviously I have nothing else to base this on, but I think there are still some things to keep in mind. Like I said, we see the gang buy Scooby from a pet shop as teenagers, so we can use that to place this in what I'll call Timeline A. Also, this movie shows the gang as actors, which implies everything in the show is fake. But the gang talks about how Scooby helped solve mysteries like they were real events.
Remember all those great adventures we shared?
Gee, remember all those things Scooby used to do?
Like being chased by horrible monsters.
And eating those Scooby snacks.
And what about all those mysteries he helped us solve?
Why would you talk like that about a scripted TV show? So, my theory is that the TV show shown in this movie is based on the true events of Where Are You? In Scooby-Doo Where Are You, we see the gang travel the country and even solve mysteries on the set of at least one movie set from what I remember. So it's not beyond reason that while on a real mystery, a movie executive saw the gang and thought, we need to make a show about this. So that's what I'm sticking to. Otherwise, it's pointless trying to create a timeline because everything can canonically be called fake anyway. So with all that in mind, I'm placing Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood from 1979 as the first movie in Timeline A. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you're as excited as I am for this project. If you want to come along with me for the ride, consider liking the video and subscribing. It really means a lot to a small YouTuber like me. Also, if you like Scooby-Doo, there's a chance you like horror. If so, please check out my other series on this channel where I'm watching through and ranking 80s horror films. With all that, thanks again for watching, and have a spooky night.
Just run! I'm not afraid. So, you're not afraid of me, eh, Sheriff Scooby?